Hey everybody, Matt here from Matt's Movies, Music and More, and my special guest Andrew, welcoming you to this week's episode of What Did You Think? Okay, so if you saw our last episode of What Did You Think, you'll know that we picked a movie from the drama category that the Twisted Spinner had landed on, which was the really underrated but extremely controversial movie American History X, starring the two Eds, Norton and Furlong.
That was a good talk.
Yes, even though it was kind of a difficult subject, wasn't it?
A very tough movie, but a good talk.
And so to replace that film on the next spin in the drama category, I did this for you, Andrew, and that is that we have put in there the 1954 black and white classic On the Waterfront, starring Marlon Brando.
Thank you very much for that. It's been an itch for years, and I will explain next time what that itch is.
Good. So on to today's movie. So today's movie, it comes from the sci-fi genre. So to replace this movie in sci-fi, I've also done this for you, Andrew, given that it's something that I think that you would appreciate. Whether or not you would appreciate this particular choice, I don't know. But I've named in there that we're going to do the 1966 sequel to a British movie that came out that a lot of people probably don't know, which is the sequel is Daleks Invasion Earth 2150 AD, which is the Amicus Doctor Who movies with Peter Cushing as Doctor Who. Not the Doctor Who that you like from your TV show, but the gentle grandfatherly Doctor Who, I'd say. Right?
I'm glad that you've got a basic idea of how Doctor Who canon works.
Yes. So I don't know if you appreciate that choice of movie.
Can't say I've ever heard of it. I can't do that joke now, can I? No. There's interesting of those movies. That's an interesting choice. That's given me something to ruminate on.
Okay. Yeah. So on with today's movie. So today we are doing a movie which, again, anniversaries here. 35 years ago this year, this movie came out.
Of course, we love anniversaries.
Yes, I do. And be sure to stick to it next year when we have loads of anniversaries planned, given that it will be 40 years to the year 1980. So there might be a lot of 1980 picks coming up that year. Yes. So the movie that we are doing today is the 1984 sci-fi movie, The Last Starfighter, which is directed by Nick Castle, and it stars Lance Guest, Catherine Mary Stewart, Dan O'Herlihy, and Robert Preston as Centauri. Ooh. So, The Last Starfighter. Had you seen it before I suggested?
I have a very faint memory of catching maybe the last 15 to 20 minutes late at night on some satellite channel somewhere in a hotel room. That's about it.
Okay. Now, it's a movie that, as a kid, I always remember seeing in my parents' video collection with that iconic picture of space in the background and the teenage kid sort of in his normal clothes, but he's looking up to the stars like he's going to be something really special, that he's being involved in this world. Although looking at it, you kind of think, is it that he is playing a computer game or something like that and being put into a computer world like Tron, but it's not that kind of movie. I don't know if you want to explain the plot.
Just summarise the plot. Alex Rogan is our teenage boy hero in this, and he lives in a trailer park in, I don't quite remember, Nowheresville, USA, something like that. And in some ways, life is good for Alex. He's got a younger brother, he's got a mother. The trailer park community loves him and depend on him to fix all the electrical problems, like, can you fix my TV? My soaps are coming on later today. And he's got a girlfriend. His girlfriend loves him. They're in a good relationship. But in other respects, he yearns for something more. He's full-blown Luke Skywalker. He wants to escape and he wants to get a scholarship, and he's putting an application, and spoiler, his loan doesn't go through, so he's stuck basically in Nowheresville, USA. So his only real means of escape is this arcade machine that is, of all places, is in this trailer park. Starfighter, this Space Invaders shooty zappy 80s arcade cabinet. You are the last line of defense to protect us against the Kodan Empire. So shooty. He spends all his time and his money playing this game, and then one night he's about to reach the final boss, the high score, the big challenge, and you can tell that life is dull at this trailer park because everybody comes out to, even the old people come out to go, Alex is about to beat the high score. Oh wow, you can do it, Alex. Don't you have anything? You really don't have anything better to do than watch this arcade cabinet, but he gets the high score, and he might not have his scholarship application, but at least he beat the high score on Starfighter. So later that night, I hope I'm getting the time frame right on this. Later that night, a DeLorean pulls up.
It looks like it.
It looks like it has the doors and everything, and who should be driving the DeLorean but the Music Man? No, it's Centauri. Well, is this mysterious man in a cowboy hat with a cowboyish accent saying, hey boy, did you want to get inside the car with me? And because it's the 80s, he doesn't question it and gets inside, but very quickly he's got this, he shakes hands with this valet who's in the car, who gets out, and they drive along, and it starts driving at high speed, then it starts driving at warp speed, and then it lifts up into the air. It's a spaceship, and trying to cut time on this, basically. His name is Centauri, he's an alien, and that arcade cabinet was supposed to go to Vegas or something, but it ended up in a trailer park. But he's glad that it did, because that arcade cabinet is a simulation to help test star pilots for the Star League. Basically, there is a real Kodan Empire, there's a real Starfighter group of pilots, and I've just recruited you, some human from a backwater planet, to be part of the Star League. Oh, and I've also, that guy you shook hands with, that's an android duplicate who will take your place at home and nobody will notice. So how will Alex take to this? Will he accept his destiny as a starfighter, or will he run home at the earliest opportunity? Bit of both, actually.
That's a good way to summarise that plot, actually, because a lot happens in the movie, and is it me, or does it kind of scream sort of callbacks maybe to E.T., maybe? With some of the visuals and stuff like that, regarding like the trailer parks and stuff like that?
It was made around the same time, and it's 1984 this movie was released, a couple of years after E.T., but I was going to say about 1984 in general, but I suppose you could bring E.T. into that. And our generation can appreciate this, and we sound like old men when we say it, but as we go further into time, it's a bit obvious, but it needs to be said. Wasn't the 80s a great time for sci-fi movies?
I don't know if I detect sarcasm in that
No. I mean, it's a very earnest and very sweet and very good-hearted movie, which was a little hard for me to appreciate as a modern day cynical adult. But I think with this movie, you very quickly have to put your cynicism at the door and appreciate this movie for what the story it's trying to tell. You say E.T., but I took Star Wars from this, Star Wars A New Hope, because I said Luke Skywalker, but it is the Joseph Campbell hero's journey, to get pretentious for a moment. You've got the hero who dreams of something more. This eccentric wizard mentor character comes in to say, you've got a journey to go on, you are destined to do this, and the hero initially going, no, I don't want to leave the comfort of home, but then something happens to the wizard or mentor, or something happens that causes them to go, no, I have to do this. This is a textbook. Star Wars A New Hope is often cited as the textbook example because it was directly copying and referencing and using the hit Joseph Campbell as a template. But I'd go to say, watch this as an example. It follows every single beat of that in a good way.
Two things I will mention briefly is, do you think that there is a sort of subtext, as you were saying, with the plot of that, you know, Alex essentially he wants to try and better himself. He feels that he's superior to the people that he lives with in the trailer park and stuff, and he feels that things should come his way, but he's not necessarily getting what he wants on Earth, but he is aspiring to be great at something else.
Well, it is kind of comedically ironic that he gets what he wants, but not, you know, much bigger than he anticipated. He wanted to leave his trailer park. Well, congratulations, you're in outer space. You're on the planet Rylos or whatever it is.
And you know what movie comes to mind as well, thinking about this film, that may have been inspired partially by this, although I doubt that is the case. But straight away, a teenager living in a trailer park or a really, really sort of abandoned neighbourhood, it made me think of Ready Player One.
I wonder, now that you mention that, I do wonder if the author consciously had that in his mind,
because again,
that's a whole love letter to the decade that this movie comes from.
That he's aspiring to do something better and everything like that, isn't he? So it's kind of like that a little bit. But no, Alex, he's a likable teenager, and you know, this is a movie where you don't really have any baddies in his close-knit circle of friends and family at all. The only baddies are the ones that are in space, and even them, they're not exactly like super bad. They just look scary, the aliens.
Well, they're not especially threatening. I mean, what's his name, Gurr, or what's the big bad guy's name?
Oh, I'm not sure. But I know that because he looks like one of the ones they're already working with. He happens to be the son, like the evil son.
You are not my son anymore. He's a rejected, outcast terrorist leader, and he's got an army, but the army's not very cooperative or willing to work with him. They're willing to ditch him if the first opportunity presents itself. And I wasn't waiting for the bullies and the trailer park to turn up, or he's got no real problems,
except for the fact that there was that one bit where he had to turn his girlfriend down by saying, "Look, I can't come out with you tonight and the friends," because he's been told that he's got to do like fixing the television or whatever.
Because the stories are coming later that day. Yeah.
Yes. So his friends kind of mock him a little bit, but it's not like it's really nasty or anything like that. But I like the relationship he has with his girlfriend, played by Mary Stewart. I think she's a great actress. She's been in lots of other sci-fi films, but they seem like a really nice couple. But unfortunately, I think she's a little bit too nice to him. Meaning, like, you know, when he's not with her, he's straight on that machine playing that game.
Yeah, she's very forgiving.
Yes. But we need to go on to the other characters who are the... we'll start with Centauri, played by Robert Preston, who I believe this was his last movie, because a few years later he passed away. But he was a very famous actor, I think, in like westerns and stuff like that. And from the documentaries I've seen about it, a lot of the people who were involved in the making of this movie were like, we're working with a real Hollywood legend here in Robert Preston, and we're so glad to have him. But Centauri kind of seems a bit like he's kind of got that sort of dodgy car salesman kind of attitude. Like he's going to sell the idea of you going to be in the Starfleet just so he can get his Starbucks and go away.
I think that when it's said at one... Is it said, or is it very heavily implied that he's a con man or a salesman? It made so much sense.
Could he be a bit like Han Solo, would you say, from the Star Wars in that way? That he's only doing it for the money?
A weird fusion of Han Solo and Obi-Wan Kenobi, yes.
And then obviously we've got the very nice-natured alien, Grig, played by Dan O'Herlihy, who you will have heard of before on this channel, as he has been in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, which was made a year before this, and obviously he plays the old man in the first 2 RoboCop movies. Now, what do you think of Grig?
I thought he fulfilled his function as the ally, or the guy who has to fill the teacher role once Centauri is indisposed.
Yes, but yeah,
the majority of his scenes are in the 3rd act, which is really just sitting in a cockpit set whilst the special effects tell the story. And they go, "You shoot this thing, you did it. Shoot the other thing, you did it." And yet there is a scene where they exchange photos and what have you. That was, given there was most of their scenes are just sitting in a cockpit, that was necessary character development.
And one more thing I mentioned before we go on to the space stuff, and that is, what did you think of the Beta Alex? Not a very good job, I'd say.
That's the point, isn't it? And that took me by surprise. And given I've only ever seen 10-15 minutes of this movie right at the end before, I expected the whole movie to just be in space. And the fact they took this time to do a B plot about a fake rope android Alex who's there to be cover, but on the one hand he's good cover, he's not too much I am talking like a robot. The only problem he has is that he doesn't understand human emotions. Otherwise he's a very capable shooter when the assassins come for him, but generally that well played with that B plot. I wasn't expecting it, and I was to some degree emotionally invested in it.
The character looked a bit weird with his hair, because apparently I think that they filmed these scenes additionally for the film, and Lance Guest, the actor, I think had either cut his hair or he'd grown his hair a bit longer, so his hair doesn't match up necessarily with the Alex look. So that's just in case you noticed there was any change in the hairstyle or anything like that, which clearly the girlfriend you'd have thought would have noticed.
Yeah.
But one thing that this movie has, which obviously is one of the highlights of the film, is the groundbreaking special effects and computer animated effects, which, given that Tron had come in 1982 and had blown audiences away with its groundbreaking CGI, although I don't believe there was as much footage in CGI in Tron as you would have thought, I think there is actually more footage of CGI space in this movie. What do you think of the special effects? Because I think it's outstanding for what it happened to be.
For the time, fair enough, but I just kept thinking Tron. The word Tron was in my head watching these scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want an early example, not to denigrate this movie, but if you want an early example of just letting the special effects tell the story, then again, 3rd act, human actors, alien actors sitting in a cockpit going, shoot, move, fire, and then cut to the special effects.
Yeah.
Telling everything.
Yeah.
1984 special effects. You're going to be watching this for the next 10-20 minutes.
Yeah. Overall, for a movie that is just over an hour and a half, it's not a slow movie, I'd say, at all.
No, it doesn't take up too much of your time.
And the plot itself, it's very light-hearted. It's the sort of thing that you could imagine people watching on a lazy Sunday matinee afternoon, and there's something in there for both adults and kids. But I do feel the movie's dated given the technologies that young kids would have nowadays, so who can't relate to this universe of Alex in the trailer park being expected to give up his friends for doing chores on his mother's property and stuff like that, right?
It's an old-fashioned adventure.
A bit like those old Disney movies, like the Race to Witch Mountain and stuff like that.
In a good and bad way.
Yeah. I like the film for what it is. We didn't mention the director at all, which is that the movie's director is Nick Castle. Now, most people, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Nick Castle is essentially known as being the actor who plays the Shape, aka Michael Myers, in Halloween, the very first Halloween. Did you know that?
No.
And he's also been, he was also a co-writer on Escape from New York with John Carpenter, and has also directed some other movies in his own right. But I think he did a good job here with the directing. The movie was put out by Universal in a co-production with Lorimer Productions. Lorimer is a television production company who were getting into movies in the late 80s. And this movie, for a budget of $15 million, it took nearly double its amount in the American box office. But could you see this as being a big international hit back in 1984? Because to me, it screams that this was a big hit on the home video market, I think, in the UK and international territories.
Yeah.
I wonder. I'm not sure if there is any tie-in at all. You'll see a picture above me. But was there a video game made to this film? I'm not sure.
I haven't looked it up, so I couldn't verify.
No.
That.
So if not, then no worries. It seems like it would have been a perfect tie-in.
The controls and the layout is all there. Yeah.
Yeah, but given that this was a year after, I think, the big collapse of Atari and whatever, you know.
Oh god, yeah, no one will want to touch games.
No, because remember, there must be some, like the Las Vegas, Nevada desert, full of all these abandoned copies of E.T., right?
Well, that has been factually verified. Can you imagine a whole desert landfill of Starfighter arcade cabinets?
Anything's possible. Get your metal detectors out to go and see if you can find them.
Only if you don't have anything better to do.
Yeah, but overall, I think this is a good film, and it's of its time. I mean, I saw it as a kid. You've seen it properly now
as
an adult. So you're probably taking away from this a different experience to what I had as a kid, which is that, you know, growing up with not this sort of technology and stuff like that, that you could relate to this. And now I look at it as an adult and go, it takes me to a good place in my life. Whereas you're watching it and going, well, I can't relate to that character because of this, and this.
A bit. I'd say a big caveat to any newbies, fresh viewers watching this, is to appreciate the time it was made, and please take your cynicism and park it at the door before going in to see this.
Fair enough. So, anything else you want to wrap up before we end this?
It's fun. You can have a smile watching this.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you've got the opportunity to watch it on streaming sites, or if you pick up the DVD or the Blu-ray, I definitely suggest check it out. It's just a shame that the lead actor, Lance Guest, I mean, this was his only really big movie, because one of his other more famous roles, which sunk without a trace, is Jaws: The Revenge.
Oh dear.
Which I've not seen, so you know, clearly his career went down like a sinking boat.
It did. That's a terrible joke, but I understand why you made it.
Yeah,
I was going to say something about, Michael Caine survived Jaws: The Revenge. If only poor Alex Rogan could have survived Jaws: The Revenge. But yeah, I understand why.
Yeah.
When you have a movie with a shark that roars.
I've not seen it, so I'm not missing out on much there, I'm guessing.
No.
Okay, so that's the last Starfighter.
Yeah. And I hear something, which means we're getting towards spin time. You're going to say it a lot better.
Twister Spinner?
Yes, that's
it. That's TM. Twister Spinner TM. So, let's see, by spinning the wheel, what it's going to pick for the next episode. It's landed on WTF.
Oh, okay.
So what shocking, extremely gory and totally out there movie have we got for WTF?
You make it sound so enticing.
I really wanted to build this up. It's gone with the 1988 apocalyptic movie Miracle Mile.
Oh.
Do you know anything about Miracle Mile?
Nope.
Nope. We're going to find out in the next episode.
Why have you got a funny look in your eye?
Yes, so be sure to check that episode out, and thank you for checking out today's episode. What do you guys think of The Last Starfighter? Is it a movie that you grew up with back as a kid, or is it something like Andrew here is discovering for the first time in the 21st century, where it probably has a different kind of subtext and stuff like that, and you know, but yeah, don't forget to check out and like and subscribe to our videos here. We've got great shows that are coming up in the future, like At the Movies with Andrew. He'll talk to you about the latest films in the cinemas, and we have obviously more episodes of What Did You Think, and my own solo videos, and some more shows coming potentially in the new year. Can you believe it's going to be 2020 next year?
No.
Yeah, shocking, isn't it? So yeah, thanks everybody, all the very best, and closing statement from you.
Until our next adventure, old friend.
Thanks everybody. Bye bye.